Here's the problem that most people have with digital products. They keep creating new ones over and over, but never learn how to actually sell them. I've spent over 9,000 hours figuring out how to sell digital products, and in the last month alone, I made 400 sales and 15K in revenue. And so in this video, I'm giving you the no BS advice on how to create a digital product that actually sells. Plus, I'm going to show you the exact steps that you can take to go from 0 to 5K months in the fastest way possible. So let's start with the one rule that will completely change the way you think about digital products. When I finally understood this and actually applied it, this is when I started making sales. And I remember it so clearly because it was also the moment I realized where I'd been going wrong for months and months, working really hard and not making any sales at the start of my journey. And here's what I found, right? 80% of your time needs to be spent on marketing and just 20% is on creating your actual product. And so I was doing it the other way around. When I flipped this ratio into my own business, this is when the sales started coming in. They kept coming, and it's the thing that saved me when my 9-to-5 job made me redundant and I had no idea how I was going to fund my lifestyle. Now digital products do. And so if you want to put this rule in action yourself, and if you're someone that like me was juggling a family, a 9-to-5, and just life is overwhelming, and let's say in the next 4 weeks you can only carve out 6 days to work on your business. I mean, that's ambitious, but let's say 6 days. This means that you dedicate 4.8, so basically 5 of those days on marketing. Okay, it's a lot of time. And then just 1.2, let's round it down to a day, should be focused on creating or improving your product. And so when you think about it like that, it's so clear where the results are going to come from. They're going to come from your marketing. And so you're probably listening to this and thinking, okay, if I've only got 1 day, let's say in a month, to create or improve my products, then that product better be very bloody good if it's gonna sell with just 1 day, right? And you're completely right. So let me show you how you can choose one winning product idea that's actually worth you putting your time into. And just before we get into that, I think it's really helpful for you to know that I have a step-by-step checklist linked below, and it literally shows you the exact steps on how to start and grow your digital product business. It's completely free. I wish I had it when I started out, so you can go grab that. And now let's get back to the video. And you would not believe how much bad advice I see out there about creating your digital product. So I created one simple framework that you can follow. It's actually called the Magnet Framework, and we're going to go through it together. Okay, I'm going to get my trusty iPad out. Okay, so here's the Magnet Framework in action. So if we click on the M, you can see that this stands for market proven niche. And so the key here is that you choose one of the 3 proven evergreen niches that always make sales, and that's health, wealth, and relationships, because this is where the money always flows, okay? Now, A stands for actively searched. This is where there's validated demand. People are already looking, buying for, talking about the solution right now, okay? So you need to make sure there are active searches for it. Really, really important. Okay, moving on to G, we have the growth orientated transformation. Your product always has to move people forward in one way or another. It's like the modern way to think about transformation. How do you get from somewhere that you don't want to be to somewhere that you do want to be? That's the transformation, and your product needs to provide that in a positive way. Okay, N stands for a narrow and specific problem. Now, I see a lot of people fighting against the idea of having a niche, and you don't need to do that. Your product needs to be specific. It needs to be very clear on who it's meant for. And so it's very important that you keep it narrow. And niching down is the perfect way to do this. Okay, E is for evoke curiosity. There's so much going on. Your product needs to spark interest. People need to want to lean in, learn more, stop the scroll, and actually go and engage with your product. And the last bit is about being time relevant. It needs to feel urgent. You need to give someone some urgency on why they want to buy your product. Not one day, not tomorrow. They need to want to buy your product now. And so if you follow the Magnet Framework, you're going to end up with a core digital product that is irresistible. And here's some special sauce that I finally discovered when I finally reached my 10K. And this is what takes your product from being a magnet to being an absolute machine, like a sales machine. And that is the bundle formula. And so you are essentially taking one single digital product, like an ebook, like a mini course, or like a template, and turning it into a bundle that basically has multiple formats stacked together to deliver an even better improvement or an even greater transformation, okay? And so I'm going to get the trusty iPad out again to show you 3 examples of how I've done this for my own products so you can do it for yours. Pin Perfection started off as my best-selling Pinterest marketing product, and at first it was just a custom GPT, but then I was able to evolve it. I added training, I added tools, I added templates, and then it became an entire marketing system. Okay, now let's look at ebook elevation. This started as a masterclass. On its own, it was to help people create great ebooks. But again, I then went back and turned it into a system. I added GPTs, I added ebook templates, I added bonuses. And so it went from being just a masterclass to being an entire bundled system. And then the last example is my digital product planner, okay? Now this started off as just a planner where you could use the workbook to plan out your very best digital products. It followed my exact framework, and I still offer this for only $9, but I turned it into a system. I added templates, I added listing tools, I added everything that you needed to create your first launch. And so I went from a product to a system. And so now you know how to nail your 20% for product creation. What about the 80% that you need to spend on marketing? How exactly do you sell one product over and over again? Well, let me show you. And a quick heads up before we jump back in, there is a digital product checklist. It gives you all the step-by-steps. It's actually completely free in the description, so you're going to want to pick that up so you can follow along and create your own profitable digital products. Okay, so back to selling your digital products over and over. It is basically like dating. And hear me out on this, right? There are these rare unicorns, the rare exceptions where you meet your Prince Charming on your first date, okay? And it's love at first sight, and you just know you're going to marry that person and elope with them as soon as you can. That's really cute, but it's not the norm, and it's not what happens for most people, right? The norm actually looks a lot more like this. You go on a date, you kind of like them, but you're not quite sure yet. And this is exactly the same when it comes to selling digital products, and it's what an actual funnel looks like. So the easiest way to think of a funnel is that it takes someone from casually meeting you to like locking in and saying, I do, you're the one, let's spend our lives together, right? And the best part is if you do that right, you can automate the whole process so it can basically happen over and over again without you having to do everything once you set all of the elements in place. And so it looks a lot like this, really. Stage 1 is awareness. This is where people find you first, and this is where they get to know you. Now, most people will tell you to just post your little heart out on social media at this stage, right? And this is how you're going to get people to recognize you, and this is how you're going to get noticed. Post every day, burn yourself out, be very exhausted, make no sales. This is how it usually goes, and then keep doing it over and over again, because apparently insanity is a strategy now. And this is what a lot of people are teaching you online, but it is not my advice, because way too many of my 9,000 hours I spent figuring this out was spent posting on TikTok and Instagram that actually went nowhere. And here's what I found actually works at this stage of the funnel, and that is YouTube and Pinterest. Now, why those two platforms, and why are they different to Instagram and TikTok? Let me tell you. YouTube builds community and trust like no other, and faster than any other platform. It also drives traffic, but this is where Pinterest comes into play. Pinterest will drive you so much traffic you won't know what to do with it. And what I love about both of these is that you can batch all of your YouTube and Pinterest content in just a few days for the entire month. I record once, maybe twice a month max, which the time it saves you versus trying to record daily reels is actually crazy, right? And then step 2 of the funnel is know, like, and trust. And this is where you really deepen the relationship. And part of this stage is your leads, i.e. the people that found you at stage 1, continuing to see your content and over time liking and trusting you more. And this happens massively on YouTube, but also through your emails. This is where you share your value, your story. This is where you basically position yourself as the go-to person, all right? It's really important to be really vulnerable in your emails emails as well. That's what works really well for me. And so the third stage, we've hit the jackpot here. This is conversion. This is where the sales actually happen, and usually is on your sales page. It is not on a stand store. It is certainly not on an Etsy store if you're doing it right and you want sustainability. And I have a whole video you can click here on where I think you should be selling your digital product. But your sales page needs to be very highly optimized. Some people also use a webinar at this stage. They will invite you to a free training and then they will sell you something instead of a landing page or on top of a landing page. That works too, but it's totally optional. It's not a must, okay? So in simple terms, your sales machine works like this. Your traffic at the start of your funnel comes from YouTube and Pinterest. Trust is then built through YouTube and email, and then you convert on your sales page or on your webinar page. And when you set this up right, you can then, once you know it's working, set up automation so this all runs in the background, selling your product over and over again. This is like passive income. You know, this is how you sell the hell out of your digital product, but it only happens when you create a really good sales machine. But even the best sales machine can flop if your pricing is wrong. And pricing isn't the sexy part, right? It's not flashy. It's not exactly the type of content that a lot of your YouTube gurus will be making. I mean, a lot of it's actually gate kept. And here's the truth, you will never hit those big income numbers unless you get the pricing right. Okay, it's so important. And you know, I'm a girl that loves a framework. Okay, so we've got a framework for pricing, and it's called my VMC Pricing Framework. And it goes like this. It's very simple. V, value delivered. The bigger the transformation, the more value you're delivering, the more improvement you're giving someone, and the faster they get it, the higher you can charge. Okay, that's just the rules. Now, the M stands for market conditions, and this means that you should be looking at what your competitors are selling. You don't want to be way too expensive or way too cheap, but you also don't want to just copy them. Some of them don't know what they're doing when it comes to pricing either. So just use your gut instincts here, and if you need some help, you can join me inside my community where I help people set their pricing and do all of these type of things to grow your digital product business. Okay, and C stands for confidence positioning, and price, it really does tell a story about your brand. If it's far too low, people are going to perceive you as low quality. But if it's really high, without proving why your price should be that high, it basically leads to mistrust. People start to mistrust you and they won't buy your product. So you need to pick a price that matches the value that you deliver and the space that you want to own in your market. Do you want to be a luxury product? Do you want to be an affordable product? That is something that you need to decide and set your price accordingly. But you know, you have to also realize that price is only 50% of the way you're going to position your brand. The other 50% is proof. Remember I said high price without proof is mistrust, okay? So how can you prove that your product is worth the price that you decide to charge for it, okay? And so that your customers feel like it's worth actually buying. And it's really hard to do when you're a beginner, but it is very possible, and this is how. You don't need hundreds of examples. People get really intimidated here and think they need like loads and loads of proof. You don't. Like 1 or 2 pieces of strong proof, that can boost sales more than even the fanciest sales page, okay? And so here's 3 ways that I got social proof from my digital products when I was a baby entrepreneur with no audience, no testimonials, and I still use some of these strategies today. It's probably why my products are such a no-brainer and why I make sales every single day, okay? So what did I do? Number 1, I led with my own story. Remember, I'm a baby entrepreneur. Nobody knows me. I led with my own stories and my own results. I showed people what I had done and how my templates had helped me get there, and I became my own first case study. I showed the process of me using my strategies, my products. I tracked my results, I took screenshots, and I shared as much of my own transformation as I possibly could. A lot of you know that I went from being in a 9-to-5 I hate to now having my own online business, okay? Freedom-based business, big transformation. Number 2, when I started to get more of a little bit of an audience, I launched early to a small group. And once I had even a tiny email list, I would do these little quiet launches where I would just either give my product away right at the start, or I would give it for a really discounted price to people that would like reply to my emails or would just show me love in whatever way, right? And the only thing that I would ask for is some honest feedback. That's it. and almost all of the time it was positive, and they then became the testimonials that I would use at launch. So most people would be like, oh, she's just launched her product, how she got testimonials? That is how. Okay. And then number 3, I just documented everything, and this is different from the first one, but I actually recorded quick walkthroughs and I positioned them as like mini trainings along with my products, and these really help because a lot of people didn't have confidence in what they're doing. Okay, so selling a template is one thing, selling it with a implementation training on how someone can get the most out of it, yeah, that is way more irresistible. You can take my money on that one. And so you might have the right price now, you might have the right product, you might even have testimonials and proof, but now you need to sell this thing, okay? Because none of that matters if you can't sell it. And I'm talking about hitting your 5k mark, your 10k mark, so you can finally start quitting your 9 to 5, all right? And so the focus here is on one product. And I know you probably don't want to hear this, but you need to scale that one product to daily consistent sales before you create anything else. And so after 9,000 hours of doing this myself, launching multiple products and getting it wrong, I've nailed it down to 7 things that took me from 0 income from digital products to replacing my 9 to 5 corporate job. And I had a 6-figure job, by the way. And so if you want to see the exact step-by-step that I'm about to follow, then I'm going to take you through it. But first of all, grab my checklist below. It's really going to help, and all of this is going to make sense when you look at them together. Okay, all right, so number 1, you need to focus on serving before you sell. You need to lead with your value first. If you're brand new, you need to spend 30 to 60 days on YouTube, on Pinterest, just building connection, putting value out there, posting things that are going to help your audience, showing people what's possible without really expecting anything in return. A lot of people find this really hard, but this is what you need to do. You need to lead with value. It builds trust, it builds credibility, and it builds reciprocity. Can't say that word. Okay, number 2, you need to know and love your audience. Okay, love them off. Okay, the deeper you know the connection, the easier it is to create offers and content they actually want. If you've got no idea what they're going through, no idea the things that they actually need help with, how are you actually going to build that connection and get those sales? Number 3, you need to love solving problems, not just in your products, but generally just in your business. Okay, there's going to be little things that are going to trip you up all the time, and so you just need to be so focused on the end game that whatever challenge you have, you know you can figure it out. Whether it takes you a day, a week, or a month, you know you can figure it out, and you stay problem solving. Okay, number 4, you need to repeat yourself without fear. I used to get so nervous at this, making the same type of videos, and my mentor was like, you need to make more of those videos, because just because you're bored doesn't mean you're bored. Your audience probably hasn't heard it yet. Number 5, upgrade your environment. Surround yourself with people that actually want you to win, like your partners, your friends. Make sure you're around the right people, and you will shed people when in this journey. Just be prepared for that. Number 6, invest in your skills. You know this. The best entrepreneurs, they never stop learning. I watch podcasts with millionaires that all just want to learn, and you need to do the same thing. And number 7, because I want to wrap this up, traffic is king. And so whenever you're stuck, you're not making sales, things are not moving forward, you need to ask yourself, how do you get more people on your sales page? That's going to solve all your problems. And so if you want that answer right now, I recommend you watch my next video on the screen where I show you how to drive traffic using completely free and organic traffic methods and platforms. And this is exactly what you need. So I'll see you there.